Haunted Henry. Based on the story by David Mitton and Britt Allcroft. Adapted and narrated by Jet the Hawk 1994. Located on the Peel-Godrey branch line, there was a small station known as Hawin Lake. When it was first introduced, it had two sections of track running through it. One was part of the main route, while the other acted as a loop for passing trains. The station was a success with both passengers and farmers, but at the same time, it was very infamous for its overly controlling station master. His name was Mr. Pilkington. He was feared by all as he ran his station with an iron fist. "Watch yourself around him," the crews would say, "or Pilkington will get you the boot." Soon the Peel-Godrey branch was falling on hard times. The smaller stations were used only once a week, and the mills and farms began to use the roads. So as to help cut costs, the smaller stations were closed down. The outcome of this ruined Mr. Pilkington's life. Although he had a family to return to, his children were frightened of him, and his wife was tired of his attitude, and so she kicked him out and filed for a divorce. Before this could happen, however, she found a note on the bedroom door which read, "I may not be a part of your family, but I will always be a part of my station." By the time she'd arrived at the station, it was already too late. She saw her deceased husband's body lying on the ground. Beside him was an empty glass of water and a small bottle of capsules. It was later confirmed that Mr. Pilkington had poisoned himself. The station was condemned and never used again. Years later, tourists flocked to the lake. The villagers were very busy, turning the old mills into museums and offering boat rides on the lakes. It was also decided to restore the smaller stations to help control the flow of traffic. And so arrangements began in earnest. One night, Duck was sent with an observation train to inspect the line. When they neared the junction, they were met with a red signal. Walking towards them was Old Bailey. "Take great care up at the lake," he said darkly. "Strange things have been known to happen there. He doesn't take kindly to strangers at his station." He turned and walked silently away. "What's that old coot banging on about?" murmured Duck. "I don't know," said his driver. "He's just loony, that's all." Duck remained silent as he continued on. He would stop at various locations where the inspectors took out their flashlights and inspected the area. Soon, they reached Hawin Lake. The inspectors got down from the coach and looked around. Duck waited anxiously for them as the fog started to roll in. He then noticed the station. "It sure is spooky," he said to himself. Suddenly, an owl landed on a nearby tree and hooted loudly. This surprised Duck and he shot backwards in fright. "Whoa, boy," said his driver. "What's gotten you all riled up?" "Oh, nothing," said Duck sheepishly. Just then, the inspectors returned. "We finished our inspection," said one. "The area is good for rebuilding, but the land on the loop is too swampy to run on, so that section will have to be torn up." "Well, I guess our job here is done," said the fireman. As the inspectors climbed aboard, Duck breathed a sigh of relief, but he quickly breathed it back in as he saw the owl eyeballing him from the tree. He said nothing as he made his way back to the big station. The plans were soon put into effect. Henry was assigned to pull the engineering and goods trains for the project. This made him feel important, but soon rumors began to spread about Old Bailey's warning. On a moonlit night, Henry was getting ready to take a goods train to Hawin Lake. Thomas and Percy were shunting trucks in the yard when suddenly an owl fluttered in and hooted loudly. Percy was so scared, he ran back and bumped into Thomas. "Ouch!" he exclaimed. "Percy, watch where you're going!" "Oops, sorry," said Percy meekly. "What's wrong with you?" snapped Henry. "Had you heard that story?" asked Thomas, annoyed. "What story?" asked Henry. "Whenever the owl hoots and the mist rolls in," murmured Edward. "There's a legend that says when the mists are down, there's a ghost about too. Take care, Henry." Henry just snorted. "Oh, please," he grunted. "That's all just silly make-believe. There's no such thing as ghosts." "Watch yourself, Henry," Thomas cautioned. "People haven't nicknamed this the Island of Karma for nothing." "Huh! Karma indeed. You're just as bad as Edward is, Thomas." Henry rumbled away. "Stupid bird," he muttered. "Owls, mists, ghosts. Edward's going soft in the boiler. There's no mist." But Henry was wrong. "What's that?" cried Henry. "It's an amber lamp," said his driver. "That means proceed with caution." "Who's there?" No one replied. Henry crept slowly forwards. He stopped by a tree and had a sign nailed to it, "Beware the viaduct." The driver was confused. No one warned us about that before, and look, the signal's red, and the gates are closed, and there's a flagman's coat. But where is its owner? Then they saw a light move within the station building. "Ghosts!" exclaimed Henry. "Edward was right." "Something very strange is happening," said his driver. "I think it's best we go back." "So do I," agreed Henry. By morning, the mists had cleared. A workman was talking about the unsafe viaduct. "Lucky you didn't cross it last night." "Yes, but we don't know who warned us," said Henry's driver. Later that day, he spoke to Henry. "The viaduct has been repaired. We can take our train back up there tonight." Henry didn't really want to. But when nightfall came, he was sizzling nicely. Suddenly, an owl hooted, and then James rocketed past wailing his whistle. "Ha ha! What a scaredy engine!" he chortled. "Oh, look, Henry's spooked," said a truck, and the others giggled. "Be quiet!" snapped Henry. "I'm not scared." But he was. A little while later, the fog came down. As they approached the same area, they saw the amber light again. "Here we go," said Henry's driver. Then, unbeknownst to Henry, the gates mysteriously closed by themselves, and the signal went red. The trucks had seen everything, and they were spooked. "Faster, faster, there's a ghost about!" They shot forwards in fright. "Stop, stop!" yelled Henry. The train crashed through the gates and carried on. A mysterious figure watched Henry go by. Ahead was a landslide blocking the line right in front of the viaduct. Henry braked hard, but the trucks hit some of the rubble and plunged into the ravine. Just then, Henry's driver saw a strange sight coming towards them. "What's that?" he said. The fireman laughed. "That's our ghost. It's Old Bailey, the fogman." Old Bailey appeared out of the fog on a pump trolley, and he was very cross. "I tried to warn you about that viaduct. Why didn't you pay attention?" "We're sorry," said the driver. "Is there anything we can do to thank you?" "Well, I'd like to become station master at Halloween Lake. I promise I won't spook Henry." "Oh, very funny," said Henry sarcastically. A couple of weeks later, Old Bailey's wish was granted. He was praised for his efforts and loyal service and promoted to station master. But Henry wasn't satisfied just yet. One day, he spoke to Old Bailey. "How did you operate the old signals and gates at the old crossing station?" he asked. "What are you talking about? I put detonators on the rails to warn you. Didn't you hear 'em?" Henry gulped. "No, they didn't go off. So does that mean—" "Yes, murmured Old Bailey. Mr. Pilkington must have struck again. Henry said nothing as he steamed away. When the Fat Controller heard about it, he ordered that the area near the old crossing station be made off-limits until it was completely gone. The Fat Controller came to witness it being torn down, and he did not leave until the station and rails had been completely ripped up.
"Where do you think Mr. Pilkington will go now?"
Henry asked as they left.
"Perhaps he'll finally be able to move on," said the Fat Controller. "But whatever happens, he's not welcome on my railway."
Henry sometimes wonders what happened to Mr. Pilkington. Some say he was finally able to move on, whilst others say he still lingers around the area where his station used to be, haunting the line, forever refusing to leave.
"What's that?"
cried Henry.